Shalom, all praises to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostles and elders, and shalom to the elect. Ba'Shem Rakha Kodash. My name is Yakalba from Plain Tables Camp. You know, IUIC and others, they say that we don't have the real Hebrew. And you have people that say you don't need Hebrew, Greek, and Latin because we have English. Like you have this guy right here. I said in a video a while back, if you don't know the Hebrew, Greek, and Latin, you don't understand the scriptures. Rough paraphrasing. All right, it says, I don't need to know Hebrew and Greek and Latin to understand the Bible. The Bible has already been translated into English back in 1611 and before that too. So we wouldn't have to think about it this way. What is a language you speak in everyday conversation? Do you actually speak Hebrew, Greek, and Latin in everyday conversation? Well, that's not the point. You're creating a straw man. No one said you had to speak Hebrew, other languages every day in normal conversation. This is referring to biblical prophecy and understanding the scriptures. I sure don't. Otherwise, this comment wouldn't be in English right now. You don't know what... They translate into other languages. Other people watch them in different countries. They can right-click and click translate. Right. Or copy and paste it and put into a translating software. The 47 translators back in 1611 spoke fluent Hebrew, Greek, and Latin and were able to hold conversations in those languages. The 47 translations were the one that translated into English. Translators. The Bible was shadows of translations into other languages as far back as the book of Esther. I rest my case. You are welcome to call me an uneducated moron all you want. I won't take it personally. Okay, you are an uneducated moron. Definitely. Now, when you look up, let's say, the prologue of Yahweh Shai, the son of Sirach, the only way I would know his true name was Yahweh Shai is if I went into the language. Otherwise, I would be using this name, Jesus, and that's an incorrect name. This is not a proper name. All right, this is a substitute. It's not even a translation. All right. So that's why you need to know different languages, because sometimes the translators, the 47 translators, go back to this comment. All right. Sometimes the translators didn't use transliterations or didn't use translations. They used substitutes. All right. Let's go back. For the same things uttered in Hebrew and translated into another tongue have not the same force in them, and not only these things, but the law itself and the prophets and the rest of the books have no small difference, meaning they have a great difference when they are spoken in their own language. All right, so you have to know different languages. Otherwise, how would you know? Like you look up the word woman. All right. We got Aisha. How would you know it's derived from Ayash? You wouldn't know that. You would think they're two totally different words, because the only thing you know is the surface language, which is English. All right. From the 1611 King James. All right. You wouldn't know that the word Ayash shows up as wife 425 times. Woman 324 times, 10 times, married 5 times, female 2 times, and miscellaneous 14 times. You wouldn't know that if you didn't know the Hebrew. You wouldn't know the transition from, it starts using get the correct word, Aisha. You wouldn't know that it starts out as woman, because the woman is the rib or property or wife of the man. See, it starts off in the English as woman, then it starts using wife predominantly. Woman. Wife, wives. You wouldn't know that woman and wives are synonymous. you would think, oh, his woman, oh, that's just some type of girlfriend. No, a woman is your wife. You would try to separate the two. It shows up as female also. And Noah went into his sons, and Noah went in, and his sons and his woman and his sons' women with him into the ark because of the waters of the flood. All right. So the translators could have put woman there instead of wives. All right. And the same word is there. Asha. Asha. All right. These are things that people that aren't competent in the Hebrew don't understand. They don't see the exactness. They're the same thing. Woman and wife are the same thing. So your woman is your wife. But in American English, they'll use the term girlfriend, all right, instead of wife, because of the culture. So basically, the culture changes the meaning of the other words. The current culture that you're in changes the meaning of the word. So if you don't know Hebrew, you change the meaning of the scriptures. This is why this is a moron. Well, he called himself a moron, an uneducated moron. Yeah, you would be an uneducated moron if you didn't know the Hebrew on woman. Your woman is your wife. They're the same exact word. All right. Another thing you wouldn't know, when you go to Acts the 12th chapter, and there's a multitude of things. I'm just using these two as an example. And when he had apprehended him, he put him in prison and delivered him to 4 quintorians of soldiers, if I'm saying that right, to keep him intending after Easter to bring him forth to the people. So I would believe, if I didn't know the Greek, I would believe the modern tradition, modern American Western tradition of Easter. So I will put in Easter, and then I would get eggs and candy and children doing on Easter egg hunts. That's what I would get if I didn't know the Hebrew and the Greek, or Greek and Hebrew. So I would go to the Greek, then I would go to the Hebrew. But uneducated morons, okay, and idiots in the IUIC don't believe you have to go into the Hebrew and the Greek. Literally, the English is derived from the Greek and the Hebrew. So in order to fully understand the Hebrew, or fully understand the English, you have to understand the Greek and the Hebrew. So I would put Easter in, and I will get this stuff. Look, Easter. All right, they celebrate Easter too. All right, I will be painting eggs, and I will be preparing the day for when Easter comes around. And rabbits don't lay eggs. This is a demonic pagan holiday. All right. You'll be getting Easter clothes, getting sneakers and T-shirts from the store because you're preparing to celebrate Easter. And you'll be getting candy. You go into the candy section to get Easter candy, chocolates and etc. All right. So I go into Easter, G3957, and I find out that it has nothing to do with the modern culture. But if I didn't know Hebrew and Greek, or Greek Hebrew, I wouldn't know what it's talking about Pesach. All right. Which is the Passover. All right, so Easter and a Passover are two different things. So again, we're going to also put Easter in a dictionary. So Easter. All right. Originally the name of the goddess and her festival. All right. So we know that those translators were in on the conspiracy. All right. They probably worship Easter, because there's no reason that you would put this word, no, if it was originally put there in 1611, it may have been put there at a later date, unless somebody has like an actual book from 1611. If this word was there in 1611, that means they celebrated some form of this Near Eastern worship, or Eastern worship. It says originally the name of the goddess and her festival. Okay, so you can't make different pagan religions and customs into the scriptures, and that's exactly what those translators did. If it was put there back in 1611, all right, or before that, all right. So if you don't know, we gotta correct some of the mistakes of the translators, because all those English words are not accurate. So you got to go into the Hebrew and you got to go into the Greek to get a better word, to get a better translation, so you can get the truth of what the precept is saying. So yes, I do agree. You're an uneducated moron, and this is something that an unlearned fool would say, that you don't have to do research and go deeper than surface level. You can't reason with a person like this. It literally says Easter and Pesach, two totally different holy days. All right. The Paschal lamb, the lamb the Israelites were accustomed to slay to eat on the 14th day of the month of Nisan. All right. And celebrates our departure out of Egypt and being saved from the destroyer. All right. That has nothing to do with Easter. Okay. This is the goddess and her festival, akin to the East. And the Christians, this is how they worship it: festival commemoration of the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Again, this is not even a translation. This is a substitute. All right. And Christ is a translation of Mashiach. All right. But Jesus, that's a totally different word. Jesus, observed on the first Sunday, that's nowhere in the scriptures, after the first full moon. All right, well, the full moon, the 15th day, right, or 14th day of the evening. All right, which is 15th day, after the vernal equinox, as calculated according to the tables based in Western churches in the Gregorian calendar. And the Gregorian calendar ain't accurate, or the Julian calendar. The calendar is by the new moon. All right, when the moon is totally black. Easter Sunday. That's not in the scriptures. All right. Well, technically, the word is in the English is in the scriptures, but when you go behind it, it's referring to the Passover. All right. So you got to know the different languages. So IUIC and you other uneducated morons. All right, you have to know the different languages to get the truth. If you don't know what's beneath the surface of the English, you're gonna end up on scriptures, passages, and words that make no sense, that are totally against the actual doctrine of the scriptures of the Bible. All right. So though you had translators translate into English, they didn't use all the best words. All right. If they used the best words that could have been put there on every single word, the word Easter wouldn't be there. The word Passover would be there. Passover is in the scriptures. You can put pass over and it'll come up. All right. So Passover is in there. Exodus the 12th chapter. Let's see if it shows up. Hey, it even shows up in the Greek. So let's get that. Right there. Passover. But they decided to put Easter in one of the scriptures. Let's go to the top. See what it says. What's the original origin? Aramaic or Hebrew. All right, Aramaic and Hebrew are very close. It says Passover 28 times and Easter 1 time. So you would think they're talking about different things because why? Because Easter doesn't come from the word Passover. All right, Easter comes from. Let's get it up. This is where Easter comes from: a pagan worship, a pagan goddess and her festival. So they don't derive from each other. So that's the ignorance you'll be involved in if you don't know different languages. All right, not the entire language, just words here and there, especially when words like this come up. So if the English is written, so that means we should be celebrating the Passover if we're just going to go by what's there in the English. The English doesn't have the best translation for every single word. Words like Easter, woman, and a plethora of other words. Thinking of what? Laborer, wicked. Wicked. Every hand of the wicked, which means the laborer. Laborers. All right. So you need the different languages, all right, to understand the scriptures. Now, if you okay with being settled in ignorance and misinterpreting, all right, because when you read, you have to interpret. You just can't just read the English because the English is directly derived from the Greek and the Hebrew and the Latin. All right. That's another word. So the majority of those words have, I would say, a pretty decent English translations from the Hebrew and the Greek, but not every single word. And I just gave you 2 examples. All right. So that's why you need the Hebrew, Greek, and Latin. I'll just get one more word. Let me see. Put Neger. Nefer. Oh. Let's go to. So you would think that the disciples were being racially discriminated against because all of the disciples were so-called black people. All right, because you see the word nigger there. All right. Now, there were in the church, Acts 13:1, that were in Antioch because of modern English language. So because of modern English and the incorporation of pagan worship within the churches, you have to know different languages or you're going to get caught up within their idolatry and color racism, which didn't exist. Now, therefore, in the church that was at Antioch, certain prophets and teachers, as Barnabas and Simeon, that was called Niger, and Lucius of Cyrene and Manasseh, which had been brought up with Herod the Tetrarch and Saul. All right, so the disciples were called niggers. You go to Strong's, G3526, nigger. Nigger, or nigger. All right, you loosen it up and say nigger. All right. Surname of the prophet Simeon. Of Latin origin, black, nigger, a Christian. All right, so the Christians were niggers. All right. Surname of the prophet Simeon. So you wouldn't know that. You would think it's some type of color discrimination. Or skin color tone discrimination. All right. So Peter, the apostle Peter, was called a nigger. All right, the original name of Peter the apostle, Simeon, name of 5 Israelites. So that's why you need to know Hebrew, Greek, and Latin. Don't be fooled with the laziness of these people. All right, you have to. Everybody, they approach the scriptures differently. They don't approach the scriptures the same way. Some people are really caught up in colorism. All right, some people are really caught up in worshiping these pagan American Western holidays. So if you don't know the origins of these things, you're going to get confused. And every word in the English is not a good translation from the Hebrew and the Greek. Hence, nigger, woman, and Easter. So I'll leave that there. Hope you edified. Shalom.